in
Hmm.
the schoolboy era. Right. Okay. I think this is episode 5 is going to be you. Okay. So let me give a little bit of a spiel and then off we'll go. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So welcome everybody. I'm really excited today to be talking to my friend Hans from Holland. Episode 5 of We Love Our Heart, the podcast, and we are going to have a wild journey now together. Hans has been doing all kinds of crazy stuff, has introduced me to all kinds of crazy stuff, but I will let him talk about it himself. How you doing, Hans?
I'm doing fine, and I'm honored to be on your podcast. So,
Honored, brilliant. Let's do a little bit of earned it or learnt it. What are we going to talk about today, and why are you here? Apart from the fact I obviously asked you, but tell us a little bit about your background.
that was going to be my answer because you asked me. No, I'm a petroleum engineer from background. I used to work for Shell, and nowadays I say I used to rape Mother Earth. I come from a very normal lifestyle. Did Technical University Delft, but then something happened. Lost my first child after a week, and that sort of reminds you very quickly of what is important in life, which to me now is basically your health and your joy. Um, and I had a few of those lessons. We had trouble getting kids, and then after fourth attempt IVF, Jasper, my current son, came out, and he had Down syndrome. We didn't know about that. And that's another life lesson. And eventually, it was really, I was sort of waking up to what is important. And the only thing that's really important for me is to help others. So you start looking outside your traditional training to how do I do that? Um, at some point, a Hopi grandmother, a Hopi elder came on my path. So I learned a lot about old tribal wisdom. And that's where I finally ended up doing Dragonfly together with my partner, Peter. It's Hans and Pete. And Dragonfly really is all about transformation. A dragonfly transforms from a larvae who lives quite a long time in water and then climbs out and becomes this beautiful dragonfly. And that's what we stand for. We stand for helping people and businesses to transform, and we do that with what we call inner space, outer space. Inner space means getting the inside in balance, and that can be humans, plants, or animals. And there's several techniques to do that, including fascial maneuvers, which I recently got a certification as a coach. And then the outer space is actually all about making sure that your living and working environment is of such high energy that healthy people stay healthy and people that are diseased, that are out of balance, recover more quickly. And specifically, we focus primarily on water, and then on the second most important thing is your bedroom, because it's in the bedroom where you really recover.
Oh, I'm going to use my favorite word at the moment, segue. That's a lovely segue, Hans. Even though I wrote it in a newsletter the other day, and I is a word I've used very intelligently, but I've never seen it written down. So I wrote Segway as the actual stupid electric machine where you could roll around, Segway, and it's not how you spell Segway. It's Segue, and I know that now. But I love the word Segway, and I wanted to say the way that we found each other was actually through water, if you remember.
Yes, I do.
There's a very nice water shop in Berlin. Even before that, we were both independently fans of water and what that means for our health. And I found that I went to walk past this shop window, and they had a wonderful thing in the shop window, which turned out to be a Mayo swirl. And I'm like, I've got to have that thing. And I bought it. And then I'm like researching it, and it took me to you. And I'm like, I'm just going to reach out to this guy. I've got to have these things. And that's how the journey started. And we both found various things to talk about in terms of our health journeys, in terms of water, the importance of the right water. And this is the story that's basically developed over, crikey, the last, I don't know how long it was now, 3, 4 years or something, 5 years even. But I just wanted to say, before we go into a couple of things you mentioned there, we're on the heart health journey, or I'm on a particularly on a heart health journey. But if we zoom back a little bit, it isn't just about the heart, is it? I think we both agree that we want to take a kind of holistic approach to our body's health, right?
Well, absolutely. I mean, this is where I don't believe that you can be a heart specialist because the heart's connected to everything in your body, and everything in your body has a function, and it's all connected. Even your fascial tissue, for instance. I mean, it goes through your entire body. So we are big fans of looking at stuff from a holistic point of view. Because if you have heart trouble, it might very well be an unresolved trauma that is sitting in another organ. So yes, it's very much a holistic thing, and this is where water is so powerful because you are literally water. People are being told that we are 70% water, which is from a body weight that is correct, but you're actually molecularly you're like 99 plus percent water molecule. So you're literally a walking water blob. And if that water is not in balance, then yeah, you tend to have a disease.
Yeah, and I don't want to get too far down the esoteric route at the moment, because we could do a lot about water and goodness me, golden ratio and the whole DNA and the whole thing. But let's just the thing that I'm really excited about at the moment, and what I'm involved in as well, and what's new, is the idea of this fascial training that you more or less led me on to. I discovered it. I was offered it in a gym. Let's be honest, 5, 6 years ago, but that was very much just these fascial rollers. Was quite painful, I have to be honest. So it never really kicked off with me. But you've picked it up and got involved with Human Garage, as you mentioned, and I know you did a very exciting trip with them in Mexico quite recently to become registered. Do you want to tell us a little bit more, first of all, about Fascia, and then about Human Garage and how they link together, if that's okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Just on the topic of water, because it's very much linked to fascial maneuvers. Um, Actually, most of the water in your body is actually H3O2. In a healthy body, about 70% of the water in your cells is H3O2, and this was actually proven by Gerald Pollack, who wrote the four phases of water. And interestingly enough, your fascia, which is like connective tissue. Most people don't even know about the term fascia. It's your connective tissue, and as usual, science runs a little bit behind on uh, well, the general knowledge about connective tissue is that it's just connective tissue, but it actually goes from throughout your body. It winds. Nothing in your body is in straight lines. Most of it is all wound, usually in an implosion. And your fascia is actually runs through your organs, sits outside your muscles, outside your bones, and it's the only organ, because it's an organ for me, that is you can't cut it out of the body because it's everywhere, and you can literally have a fascia in its healthy state has HCO2 running through it, and HCO2 is like a gel. Your fascia has about 1,000 times more nerve endings than your brain. And if you think of it, if you step onto a piece of glass or you step onto a sharp stone, your body reacts instantly. And physically, it's not possible for a chemical signal to go from your foot to your brain and then back and to say, well, I have to pull back my foot. It's your fascia that actually reacts. And again, it has 1,000 more nerve endings than your brain. It is your brain. And it's highly intelligent. If you don't move enough, which we don't, of course, a lot of people have sitting, and we're sitting right now. Fascia tends to sort of, yeah, become rigid. It sort of clogs. And this is where, as far as I'm concerned, with the knowledge that I now have, all your disease, all your pain, all your stiffness comes from fascia that is no longer flexible. Um, your body is actually a balloon. And people look at you like, what do you mean? Well, we actually have atmospheric pressure on the outside of our body. That is a lot of pressure. It's actually more than 15,000 kilograms that is weighing on your body on the outside. We don't notice it because from the inside we give anti-pressure. We give but that's a lot of pressure. So you're literally your body is a balloon. And the basis of fascial maneuvers is that you sort of wind up the pressure inside the balloon by either twisting or you're locking your skin somewhere. And if you do that, and from here you start breathing deeply, the deeper you breathe, the better it is. The pressures inside your body start redistributing and it releases the fascia. There's some fascinating video that people can find where a scientist about 10 years ago started actually videotaping fascia inside the human body. And you can see what happens. And the beauty of fascial maneuvers is by doing these very simple breathing exercises in a twisted or a locked mode, you release your fascia. And a very simple example, people that become older, they tend to start sort of walking a bit more bent forward,
Yeah.
and a lot of people have lower back pain. Well, lo and behold, if you release your fascia because it's cramped in your stomach area, then you can start your body can actually go back to the normal pose. And we have loads of these examples when you help people to do fascial maneuvers, which I do as a coach. It's amazing how easily the body then can reinstate its normal positions. And it's not so much the people think that bones and muscles are responsible for the rigidity of our body or the firmness of our body. But it's not because bones float in your body. And the same goes for muscles. The real answer is that if the fascia is cramped, that restricts your muscles and your bones. So if you release the fascia, the body can then reset itself. And this is how Gary Lineham, one of the founders of Human Garage, actually manages to. I think he even once had a scoliosis, which was 27 degrees, which is, scoliosis is your spine, which is sort of crooked.
Right. Right.
He got it back to 7 degrees in one day. In one day. Amazing. And it's simply because your body releases the tension, and therefore your bones and your muscles can reset themselves and realign themselves. So
Wow.
that's one aspect. It's your physical aspect.
Well, I just wanted a couple of things I just wanted to add there. First of all, as you say, it's not widely known amongst the standard medical community to talk about fascia. I actually was talking to a doctor the other day, a German woman, very nice. She'd never heard of fascia. Not everybody does. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Hans, but I've seen somewhere that it actually weighs up to 20 kilos of your body weight is fascia.
I didn't even know that, but it's like it's everywhere. So
Or
it is probably
20.
the biggest organ that we have,
Yeah, yeah.
and it is connected to everything. And this is what the fascinating thing is. If I have fascia which is restricted in my toe, I could actually get a headache from that. So this is where the holistic part comes in.
It,
Um,
it is very quite it's quite well linked together with Chinese acupuncture medicine as well. They sort of deal with it in the similar or they rather shall we say they deal with it, but not specifically the way that you would deal with it. Is that right?
no, I think if you want to, I think
Meridians.
human garage fascial maneuvers are breathing is very important in yoga and in Chinese medicine. And I think fascial maneuvers is just a wonderful way of they've just gone a step further. And the whole idea actually of Human Garage is to introduce fascial maneuvers to over 1 billion people, to help 1 billion people to help themselves, because you can do all these exercises yourself. And they're actually for free on the internet. You can find them on YouTube. And this is also, And it's another very powerful way to not only become fit again, because I have no more pains. I used to have stiff ankles, and I do my fascial maneuvers every morning. And I just found that I no longer have stiff ankles when I get up. My ears are much, much softer than they were. So you can find that your body becomes softer and softer and softer. But another very important element of fascial maneuvers is the fact that your traumas, and this is what they found. Human Garage actually found this by practice, where they were working with high-end top athletes. They were working with, and they found that through their work is that by releasing fascia, they also started releasing traumas which were stored by the body. And that's a fascinating aspect where you don't have to talk about it, but you can actually release and deprogram the body with fascial maneuvers. And I've experienced that for myself.
This leads on again, another nice segue, but this leads on also the conversation I was having this morning with this gentleman I told you about before, this idea of trauma being locked up in your body. What I wanted to say, just one more shout out to Gerald Pollock, who I believe is actually recovering from a bit of a medical incident, a health incident, not so long ago. I believe he had some kind of stroke. So a shout out to him. I hope you get well very soon because we love the work that you've done. But just leading on to this idea of trauma, and I want to just use that then as a slight bridge, if we can, to talk about, because one of the things you are also involved in is the idea of healing through sound, which I know that you've also been involved in, investigated, and you also brought me into contact with a company called Metro, who make a special kind of sound. And just to tell the story, my story very briefly, you know it, Hans. You actually put me in touch with the company I went to visit. And she is a little bit like you, but you know what I mean. She's a kind of a healer, the kind of person who looks at you and says, "Mark, there's something wrong." And I'm like, "What?" She actually told me, "Mark." This was the first time I met her. I sat down in her office and I was telling her why I was there. And she said, "What's the hurry, Mark?" And I would, "What do you mean? Why are you racing? Why do you feel we have no time?" And I was really taken aback by this and slowed right down. And somehow we got into a story about me and where I came from. And I told her the story. I don't know how it had cropped up, but we got into the story of my adoption. And that if no, what you don't need to know this, but it's not something I put out there. But at 6 weeks old, my birth mother gave me away for adoption. And then she looked at me and said, "Mark, that explains everything. Your circle is not complete. This idea of rejection, you don't know it. You have no, you don't remember it, but it's there in your life." And within 10 minutes of meeting this woman, 15 minutes of meeting this woman, I was crying like a baby and hugging a teddy bear, which she said was the baby Mark who needed to be loved. And I was I was just explaining this story this morning. It still like freaks me out that someone I didn't even know had me crying like a baby within 15 minutes. I guess there are people like that. But anyway, what I what I wanted to swing round there actually was about the idea of healing through sound and the system that she operates, and how we would consider that. Or what's your take on that, Hans?
Well, as you know, we are one of the very few companies in the world that sell Mecho sound systems. It's the only natural sound system because, just to explain quickly, natural sound actually comes from an implosion. It comes from a single point, and from there it expands as a sphere outside. So if you stand next to a waterfall, there's a lot of noise, but there's very little pressure on your ears. And all music is healing as such. I mean, we all know that. But the way that we play music with normal speakers is actually disharmonic and bad for you, which people know that if you put your stereo on too loud, you'll damage your ears. And this is the only system that I know of, only technology that actually implodes the sound, and it creates a sound hologram where harmonic waves are being enhanced, and you can literally feel this hologram. I mean, we have tissues next to the chair sitting between the Mecho system because people start crying spontaneously. And one of the beauties of this sound system, which in my view, everybody should have this at home, but how do you explain how it sounds and how it feels over over the internet. You can't. But what it does, the beauty is any frequency that is being put out by the system comes in harmonic waves. Even if you play digital music, which is disharmonic, it is not analog, then for some reason the Macho system makes that into harmonious waves. And what it does is any at that frequency that enters your body in the inside this hologram, if you have cells that are not in harmony, then they are being forced to come back into harmony. So often when we put people in the system, and like for instance, I have a toothache or I have a tooth issue, then they will go like, "Hey, I'm hurting here now," and you go, "Yeah," but because that's where your cells are disharmonic, and it's a beautiful holistic way of helping people to heal themselves. But it comes with a price tag. So these are not very cheap systems. Having said that, some people spend 200,000 euros on their stereo system, which is not for
Yeah,
all of us. But
yeah, yeah.
this ranges from 6,000 to 13,000 euros, I think. But it's a incredibly beautifully holistic way of healing. And we
And
highly recommend people to have that, for instance, in your bedroom.
And oh yeah, well, let's before we just talk about the bedroom. I wanted to say that the science is kind of catching up with the idea that sound of certain frequencies can be used to heal, can be used to cure.
Oh yeah.
It's something that we probably knew more about 100 years ago. Before I think, I think I might have sent you something about how hospitals used to have bell towers 100 years ago. That
Well,
meant
that's something that I already knew, but
yeah, no, Hans, there's very little that I can send you that you don't already know, but that's another story.
no, but it's true. I mean, in the old days, hospitals used to have sun decks. They would put out the patients into the sun because the sun is natural and it's healing.
Yeah,
They used to have copper doorknobs. Everything used to be copper because copper
for,
is good for you.
for grounding, apart
Yeah,
from anything else.
yeah, but
Okay,
also
and they
for
used to have
healing.
the bell towers because the resonance of the bells would actually give a healing atmosphere.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, no, and science is catching up. It's just that before it gets from science catching up into this is what I'm being taught at school, you're looking at 30 to 40 years
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah,
We're still being taught that we are victims of our genes. We're still being taught that. If your parents have genes that are um, yeah, they have a
not
genetic
optimal, shall we say?
disease, then well, tough luck. You're also the victim.
Yeah,
Until you start learning from people like Bruce Lipton that no, it's true, but you can activate and deactivate your genes.
yeah,
So it's and this is all to do indeed with resonance, with frequencies, and the fact remains that we're living and working in an environment that is so unnatural, ranging from light, because we're looking at a blue screen right now. We are way. We should also get red light, and there's a thing called the circadian rhythm, which
yeah,
is your biological clock. Your blue light's fine, but blue light activates you. It's like your body being told the sun's up and you need to work hard. So if you look at a screen at 11 o'clock at evening, then your body is getting the wrong signal. So then this is where red light therapy and red light products are now becoming more and more popular. And lo and behold, top sports people know this.
yeah. Before we move on, we're going to finish on sleep because you know I'm in my bedroom and you know what I'm about to say. But before
Right.
we before we move on, what's very interesting is that someone else. It's a theory is that chronic diseases became more prevalent once they took away the standard, what do you call them, the normal light bulbs with the glowing filament. and made
Yeah, yeah.
everything LED and fluorescent, because actually that glowing filament put out quite a lot, or had a much broader light spectrum, including infrared, as you mentioned there, which tended to be much more health giving than the LED lights that are very narrow in their spectrum of light that they offer. But let's move on.
Well,
We
let me just add one more
Yeah,
thing on
go on.
that. That's what people don't realize. You can't see it, but LED lights flicker like you wouldn't believe it.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can't see it, but your body actually does.
yeah.
So it's a very unnerving way of getting light.
Absolutely. Well, let's finish on sleep, because I'm sat in my bedroom, and you know that I'm a big fan of the Quilby balls. And I'm sorry, this podcast is not a commercial operation for Dragonfly, but I found your Quilby balls, which are, correct me if I'm wrong, but superheated ceramic balls, which maintain a certain energy, help the water become more hydrophilic or more acceptable for your body. You can mention that very quickly, but what I do love is the fact that you sell these Quilby balls as a powder, which you can mix into your paint a room or a sleeping area, and it will exude some kind of energetic aura. Now, this sounds like for many people, this might sound like, well, let's not say woo woo, but a little bit out there. But I am living a proof that I repainted my our sleeping area with the Quelby powder. And, well, gosh, how long is it now? 6 weeks or so ago. And I have never slept so well in my life. And when I lie down to bed, I was thinking about it last night. I am just so happy. So next to my wonderful wife, yes, that's beautiful too. We sleep together. But I just look forward every night to my sleep like I never did before. And I wake up in the morning almost, I mean, I'm very happy that I've woken up in the first place, but I'm almost sad that the night is over.
Well, you didn't you tell me that your heart rate actually went down?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yes. Actually, I put it on the side here so I can watch the time. But usually, I wear my Garmin for the specific reason that I can wake up in the morning. I can check my average heartbeat through the night. And my average heartbeat had dropped from 50, 51 to mostly now it's 46 or 47 beats per minute.
Yeah,
So,
wow.
which is tangible proof that I am sleeping better, as far as I'm concerned, but also just the feeling.
No, but this is where a lot of this stuff, when you're talking about energy and frequencies, is still considered sometimes woo-woo. But the beautiful thing is you can measure everything. So, for instance, we have this Kelby. It's actually it's all about the somatids, and somatids are, as far as I'm concerned, you can call them the life force. And the more somatids there are in a specific area, the higher the energy. And Mother Nature works really simple. If you have a pond where the water is bad, then you will find that you will get duckweed on the pond, and the duckweed's there to clean up the pond, to clean up the water. Same with your gut. If you have a bad gut, if your terrain in the gut is bad, you will get bad bacteria, but they're there to clean up the mess. And as soon as they've cleaned up the mess, then they'll turn into good bacteria. So what we really focus on with people is, first of all, make sure that you shower and bath in good water, because you take on a lot more water through your skin than you do drinking. But the other thing is focus on your bedroom, and indeed by putting Kelby, and you can do that in the paint, but we also have blankets which you can put under your bed sheet on your mattress. And there is physical proof that if you look at the blood before and after under a dark field microscope, you will see that you're more vital. And people all over report that this works. And the principle is really simple. Make the energy in your living and working environment so high that healthy people stay healthy, and unhealthy people recover more quickly. And it's fairly easy to either paint your walls, and we're actually bringing out a bioenergetic paint, so we've already mixed the Kelby in it.
Mm.
But you can, if you want colors, then you can use the powder. But it is all about creating a high energy, and therefore, yeah, it's much more difficult to become unhealthy. And obviously, it's all linked to other stuff in your lifestyle. If you just don't move and you keep on eating hamburgers,
Doesn't have
it's
not
it's
going to
not
help
going to do
us.
much. It's not
Yeah.
going to do much.
Well, well, we could just keep going, but I think we should draw to a close. But circadian rhythm and sleep was something that you also mentioned, and it's very important as well. I also think that sleep is not about rest; it's about healing. It's the one chance your body has to heal itself, and so that's why
It
I'm
is. It's your
also
fasting period. Actually, it's literally it's fasting. What you're
yeah,
doing is you're fasting for 8 or 10 hours.
yeah,
And we always tell people if you really, really want to do something about your body, just go and fast for like 3 to 5 days. Just live on water for 3 to 5. It's amazing effect because the body is such an intelligent system. It'll
it'll
start
reset
healing.
itself. Yeah, yeah. I wanted to, before I ask where people can find you, I just wanted to see if I can trump you with this. One of the things that we might have talked about, or maybe not today, but we've talked a lot about the electromagnetic energy or the electromagnetic field of a body and how that is also related to water. But nevertheless, I listened to something the other day. I think I asked you called the ghost murmur technology, and it's very topical at the moment because something's going on in Persia where two gentlemen were unexpectedly had to land, and they found the second gentleman. He wasn't allowed to use his beacon because the other people would find him first. They found him through his heartbeat, through the electromagnetic signal that his heartbeat gives. That is how far developed the technology is. And so if people say to me, "Oh, my body's what are you talking about? My body's not an electric. My body creates no electric field." Certain parts of the military know all about this and have
Of course they
developed
do.
technology would even find you.
No, no, I mean, this is the whole thing. And it's every cell is a battery. It's a battery. A healthy cell is minus 25 millivolts if you measure from the inside, and it needs 50 minus 50 millivolts in order to split into two to regenerate. So you're just a compilation of trillions of batteries. So your body is electromagnetic, and that has a electromagnetic field, and this is where your liver has a different frequency than your heart, and everything, but everything is connected. And yes, by the way, Kelby doesn't shield from EMF, but it harmonizes EMF. So that's another positive thing connected to it. But it
Okay.
is indeed there's a reason why in your phone, and it is there, that they actually advise you not to put it against your head.
Yeah.
Um,
That was something else you put me in touch with. I think we'll talk about was it the invisible sphere or something? We'll talk about that another
the
time.
invisible rainbow.
The invisible rainbow.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you, Hans. We've talked quite a lot. I don't mean this to be a complete product presentation, but we do a lot of good things. Where can people find you?
Dragonflywatersolutions.com.
All right.
Dragonflywatersolutions.com. And again, we focus on inner and outer space. We on the inner space, we actually are specialized in let's just find out what your deepest trauma is, because indeed we also believe strongly that all physical disease, all physical imbalance comes from a, an unresolved trauma, and many of us actually carry traumas that were not resolved by our parents and our great grandparents, who, I mean, war generation. So we literally, a lot of us are carrying unresolved stuff from which was passed on by our parents, and they didn't know. Yeah, so you can find us on www.dragonflywatersolutions.com. We
I shall put it in the
we work
link. Don't
globally,
worry.
actually. We work globally. So
Okay, cool. Fantastic, Hans. I think we have covered quite a broad spectrum of topics there. So thanks for your time. Brilliant. And
always welcome.
it's been a pleasure talking to you, sir.
Well, maybe that's the just to say that we're in this, we're all connected. Everything is connected. Not only the body is a whole connection of, but we're all literally connected by energy. And in the Hopi tradition, they say you are just another eye. And once you realize this, you no longer work for yourself. If you're not perfectly fit, I'm not perfectly fit, and that's what we're doing this for. Is we're trying to help everybody else, but everybody else has their own path. So we only work on invitation, actually.
Okay, we're both here to make an impact on other people's lives. So that's brilliant. And that's a great place to
Yeah,
end. Thank you
thank you
so
for
much,
your work.
Hans.
Yeah.
Cool. Marvelous, Hans. I'm going to stop it there.
Yep, no problem.
Brilliant. Stop recording.